If I'm going to say one thing about the Florida Panthers general manager, Bill Zito, it's the fact that he created a monster in the NHL that exists today. The Florida Panthers were a sleeping giant that was woken up on September 10th, 2020, when Bill Zito became the general manager of the Florida Panthers. Ever since then, the Florida Panthers have totally changed who they were, what their identity was, and even though they had built and drafted some of these core players that they have today, as in Aaron Ekblad with the first overall pick in the 2014 draft, and Alexander Barkov with the 2013 draft, third overall. Listen, it didn't matter. Everything changed when Bill Zito got here. And ever since then, they've rallied off a President's Trophy and 3 cup appearances in a row. And then on top of that, 2 Stanley Cups now, back-to-back years. And they're on the way to building a dynasty in Florida. And it doesn't look like they're going to be slowing down anytime soon, thanks to the work that Bill Zito has done to make their contracts look ridiculous and make every other fan base and their fans go, why can't our team do that? Like, why can't our general manager do the work that Bill Zito's doing? It was all created back in 2020. And yes, it didn't start directly on the day that Bill Zito came to town. It took time. It took time to implement the culture that they wanted to have. But they have a culture now where you saw last night Alexander Barkov has already came up with a plan to give the first time people that haven't won the cup yet a chance to hoist the cup, and not regular everyday players the chance to hoist the cup before the core does again. That is the ultimate leadership, okay? And that's the culture that Bill Zito has helped build. It's been Bill Zito, it's been Paul Maurice. Yes, it was even Joel Quenneville when he was when he was head coach of the President's Trophy winning team. All this has led to what they are today. Okay, this team was great. And at the time, in 2020, Florida was just beginning their dominance in the NHL, with the Tampa Bay Lightning about to win their first Stanley Cup since 2004, and the Florida Panthers looking left behind and not knowing how to, actually do what Tampa Bay was doing, because Tampa Bay had started to figure it out, and Florida just simply had not. But Bill Zito, man, has flipped the script, and he has used everything to his advantage. The Florida Panthers used to be known as a team that, was a nice place to live, was a nice place to raise a family, because it was a great place in terms of weather and the off days and everything like that. But it was not known to be a hockey town. And then everything changed in these last 5 years, and it's flipped the dynamic of the NHL. Like, the NHL runs through Florida right now. For the last 6 Stanley Cups have been won in Florida. Right now, it's all thanks to Bill Zito. Bill Zito is the main reason, the catalyst, the mastermind behind the Florida Panthers and their potential dynasty. First off, let's talk about some of the trades that he's pulled off, okay? So I'm going to pull these up for you guys because, yes, it's all to his credit, right? Like, it's nothing goes unheard of right here. Yes, you trade. Oh, let's just go back to the day that he takes over, okay? Like, we have the first trade. Obviously, nothing big here. Josh Brown, 4th-round pick, not big. Cliff Pugh and Marcus Nutrava. I think I pronounced his name right. If I didn't, I'm sorry, I butchered it. But then we go to the big first one, okay? The Calgary Flames take on Emil Heineman and a 2022 second-round pick. And they get Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett, who was a bust. Sam Bennett, who no one thought lived up to being the 4th overall pick. Yes, he was decent, but he never lived up to being the 4th overall pick. And a 6th-round pick. And then, later that summer, they then trade they acquire Sam Reinhart for Devin Levi, a stud goaltending prospect, and a 1st-round pick. Those 2 trades alone changed the course of the Florida Panthers. And that's where Bill Zito really became not just a good, decent general manager, but a general manager that was willing to take a chance. A general manager that didn't care about, a job that, if he wasn't going to be around, you got to live. It was basically, if I'm going to do this job, I got to do it right. And I can't just be comfortable in the job and just make comfortable decisions. I have to make swinging for the fences decisions. And if they work out, they work out. If they fail, then I move on. But I'm not going to go down without knowing that I actually took a chance. And that's what he's done. That's simply what he's done every single year since being hired as the general manager. So not only do you have those, then you have a couple more trades. If we go to the other page, there's going to be one here that everyone's going to remember, and we're going to go to that one. But in 2022, when the Florida Panthers looked like they were, I wouldn't say loaded, they were good. This was the year that they won the President's Trophy, but they weren't like contenders to win the Stanley Cup, if that makes sense. Like they were good, but then they needed to have that experience of losing. So they trade for Claude Giroux, and they give up Owen Tippett and a first round pick. And this is the first year where they actually make a trade to go all in. You also pick up Ben Sherratt. So yes, they made some moves here. Frank Fratano is probably one that he wishes he had back, but we go to the summer after they lose in the first round to the Tampa Bay Lightning. They get their butts whooped in the first round to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Bill Zito knows that they have to make a culture change. And what does he do? He takes Jonathan Huberdeau, who just put up 115 points that last season, and Mackenzie Weegar, who was arguably his best defenseman at the time on that team, and he flips them for Matthew Tkachuk. And at the time, everyone was like, including myself, everyone thought this was a lopsided trade for the Calgary Flames and that they walked away as the ultimate winner here. Because not only did you get Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar, you also got a first-round pick for Matthew Tkachuk. Like, that is a loaded trade. But Bill Zito knew what he was doing. He made a calculated decision, knew what he needed to win in the playoffs. And Matthew Tkachuk was that guy. Matthew Tkachuk is that guy and is a massive reason to where they are today. And then we fast forward to last year's deadline moves. They get Vladimir Tarasenko. They get Kyle Pozo, like some smaller moves, but they win the cup. They win the first cup in 7 games. This year, they simply looked like they could repeat potentially again. But then at this year's trade deadline, Bill Zito just decided he was going to become the mastermind and just the best GM in the entire world, because he goes out and he gets Seth Jones, who struggled in Chicago, but could very easily turn it around. Everyone knew that he had the star potential in him. And they go and get him from the Chicago Blackhawks for Spencer Knight in a 2026 first-round pick. Listen, this trade is going to be looked back at as like one of the trades that is going to be a reason why the Florida Panthers are going to win not just these 2 Stanley Cups, but more Stanley Cups in the future. Like, Seth Jones is that good. Seth Jones is the anchor. He didn't need to be the number 1 guy this year. And yes, he might need to be that number 1 guy going forward, but he didn't need to be that year. And that's what helped him to understand the system that Florida played. Yes, it took him some time to understand how they played, but once he understood, man, like, Seth Jones just was a shutdown defender. And then you saw the offense start to come to his side. And I would expect it to not only stay the same, but get better next year for him. And then obviously the deal of all deals, as soon as Boston Bruins made this deal, you just felt like the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup. You just felt on March 7th like the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup by making this trade, getting Brad Marchand. Like, it is ridiculous to think that Bill Zito was able to pull off getting Seth Jones and Brad Marchand in the same year. Like, think about this. This team was not like outside the core. They were not drafted. You traded for uh you, you traded for Brad Marchand. You traded for Seth Jones. You traded for Matthew Tkachuk. Like excuse me, like these trades are massive players that have built the team into what it is today. So yes, it's ridiculous to think about when we think about everything that Bill Zito has done. It's just crazy to think about. And now the last thing I have to say before we wrap up this video on Bill Zito, because I'm so amazed by what Bill Zito has done, and today I just been looking at what he's actually accomplished and what he's done with this team. Listen, no player makes over $10 million on this team. No player. It leads by example with your captain, Alexander Barkov, making $10 million, being a top 10 player in the NHL, being a Selke winner, 3-time Selke winner, and showing you that it's all about the way he leads. And he's the one who understood the way Bill Zito wanted to play, Bill Zito and him understood how they wanted to play. They understood the leadership. They understood the culture that they wanted to build, and it's all paying off. Then you have Matthew Tkachuk, $9.5 million. That is an absolute steal of a deal. When you have William Nylander, who's making 11.5, and then you have Matthew Tkachuk making 9.5, it just doesn't add up. And then you have Sam Reinhart, and like what I said, you had those two players going back and forth last year about potential deals. William Nylander signs for 11.5 million, while Sam Reinhart signs for 8.6. Yes, you can say the tax and stuff, but that's still not even the same if you took off what he was going to lose in tax money from Canada to the U.S. It just from a tax state to tax province, because everything's so different with the NHL. Tax province to a non-tax state. And then you have Carter Verhaeghe, who's making $7 million. Like, it's crazy to think about. And maybe the biggest steal of all that no one's really talking about, because this deal went under the radar last summer when they signed him, but Anton Lundell was a 6-year, $5 million AAV deal. Like, that deal is going to he is the next coming of Barkov. So it's just crazy to think about how good this team is. Obviously, they have some UFAs they have to take care of. Excuse me. But yeah, this team is so good. We look at the defense. Gustav Forsling, $5.75 million. It's unfair, man. It's unfair, the deals that they have now. They have Seth Jones on a $2 million discount from his $9.5 million. Yes, it's even though, and the one that you could have argued that Bill Zito didn't even sign was Sergei Bobrovsky. When Sergei Bobrovsky first signed, everyone was like, this is a terrible deal. The first year, especially after that deal was signed, it looked like a terrible deal. But Sergei Bobrovsky, credit to him, has turned it around and made this deal made every penny worth it. And maybe he's underpaid. That's how much he's made this deal worth it. But yes, Bill Zito has put on a masterclass for every other GM in the entire league on how to win a Stanley Cup. He has done it through trades. He's done it through contract negotiations. He's done it through building a culture. He's done it through example through his players. Bill Zito was the catalyst behind this whole thing. And it's not going to stop. It's only going to get better for the Florida Panthers. That's just what does it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to Justin Sports if you like the content that you see, and be sure to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, or X, because if you like the content that you see here, you're going to love what you see over there. It's just a matter of time before you find it. Have a great day.